Hi friends, David here from Learn Stage Lighting, and today we're going to dive in. We're going to show you how to get started on the LightShark. Now, the reason why we're redoing this, like we've redone so many of the videos here on our channels lately about the different consoles, is simply that over time, all of these consoles update, right? They make new versions, they add new features, they move stuff around, and thus it's always good to update the tutorials. Not only that, but we learn new and better ways to use them. Now, the LightShark is an awesome console. We like it a lot. We've reviewed it, and we find it to be really great for a lot of uses, kind of in that intermediate level, especially if you need a lot of external triggers. The LightShark is compatible with many types. Now, it's not perfect for everybody, but hopefully this tutorial will give you a great glimpse into it. And if you're looking at the LightShark or any other console and you're not sure what to get, if you're in the US, hey, just hop over to Learn Stage Lighting Gear, fill out our contact form, let us know what you're thinking about, what you're controlling, and if you have a current console, what your frustrations with it are, and we'll help you determine the best fit for you, whether it's this or something else. So let's dive into the LightShark. First things first, if you're booting up a LightShark that's been used before, you may boot up into a show. That's actually typical. So we're going to go ahead, hit this three-dot menu in the upper right-hand corner, left hand, hey, I know my hands, and press New. Yes, we want to leave the current show, and FYI, I am in version 1.5. It's currently a beta version, and so if this doesn't look quite the same way to you, you may need to update into the future. So you start out, boom, everything's off. There's nothing here. We're all blank. First thing we're going to do is patch our fixtures, which is what you do in a lot of lighting consoles, right? So we're going to hit our three-dot menu up here, head to the patch screen. Go to Add Fixtures. And then here we're going to go ahead and find our fixtures, okay? If you don't find your fixtures, there's a couple places to look, like pretty much any console, and I know I don't do this in all the tutorials, but G for generic. There's always going to be a manufacturer with a lot of different kind of just generic profiles that work for a lot of wash lights, par, strip lights, things that a lot of brands make, a lot of different random variations on. And you might find what you need in here. If you don't, you can request them from the LightShark community website, which is community.lightshark.es. They're pretty quick at turning them around. Okay, in this case, I'm going with some gamma LED vision. I've got a visualizer file with a virtual rig going on. And in there, first of all, we have some Borealis RCs in 14-channel mode. And so we select the model and the mode here. Then we hit the amount here. Now, in the LightShark, you're going to see you can either use like these arrows, or you can hold, or if you're on a LS1 console, press set and then press the field and set your total. If you do want to set them somewhere other than the first available DMX address, you can toggle advanced here and have those options. Hit patch, boom. You see a success message that your patch is done. You're ready to rock and roll, okay? Next, let's go ahead and grab some TX5. So gamma, oops, we were in gamma already, so we just got to go to TX5 spot. We're doing the 18-channel mode, and I've got 6 of these. Bring those in, and then we have some gamma starburst pars. It's actually on the screen, isn't it? Yeah, it is. So it's the starburst 7 starburst. I think it's this one. Yeah, 6-channel. Whoop, not 5, 6, 7, 8. Perfect. Patch those. Awesome. So patching just tells the console you now can go over to the patch screen and see all your addresses for all of your fixtures. Of course, I've already got my addresses entered on all my fixtures. Also, if you do need to create a fixture, like I always recommend, if it's a fixture that's being sold by a brand out there and you have a user manual and it's accurate, just put in a fixture request, because then it puts that fixture in the library for anybody else. On the fixture request site too, you can download the latest library, which is always going to be something newer than what's bundled with the software, because they issue fixture library updates weekly. But if you end up not finding your fixture, you need it really quick, or you just don't want to make a request for some reason, they do have a built-in fixture editor where you can go from scratch or build from something else. There's videos online that I created on how to use that. It's pretty intuitive. It's not hard to use. I mean, I'm all about, hey, have the console maker build the profiles, but if you're in a pinch, sometimes you got to make one fast. I get it. Fixture editor, built-in, reliable, works well. Isn't like some of the fixture editors of yesterday where they would crash your console if you set things up wrong. They're good. All right. So now we've patched our lights here, and we're ready to start working. So the LightShark is unique in a few ways. If you're in the default settings, under user preferences, your clear mode will be single. I like switching that to double, and I've done that here. Channel return to default, we want to be on. Usually it's off, and then pretty much everything else I leave at the factory defaults. And so we can grab our fixtures, and you do one of two things first. If you know what kind of cue, if you're trying to make a cue with like just intensity in it to turn the lights on, then I would go up here to intensity, okay? Be on the parameter screen, bring up your intensity, okay? Now, you notice no lights turned on. Why? Because by default, the colors are all off too. So I could go to a color palette here, I could choose white. Okay, so then I have both intensity and colors selected, okay? Now, it really depends on what you're trying to program. If you're trying to program a scene with everything in it, I would go ahead and hit find. So you select some lights, hit find. And when you do that, what happens is basically the lights come and they get in the programmer sent to 50-50 as we call, which is halfway through the pan, halfway through the tilt. Their intensity's up, their strobe is open, their colors are set to full white. Just basically, you know, straight up or straight down and open. Okay. The benefit of this is if you're going and you're building a queue and you want to work with every fixture in that queue and you want all of the fixtures, you want to touch all these parameters and have them in that queue, that's great. If you're trying to be a little more, you know, more of a busking style or a fluid type layout where you say, okay, I want a fader that just controls intensity and I don't want color in there, then don't use find, okay? That's the basic gist there. If you do get things in the programmer here, this can be super helpful. You can always hit delete and then knock those out of there. Okay, so delete, and that knocks those out of the programmer. Anything that you see in the programmer screen, anything here is what's going to get recorded to a queue. So you can go and take your lights, and let's just say we make a blue, we point them somewhere, and the quickest way to record things is just to go ahead then and hit record, press on one of the cue playbacks here, or the executors here, once you are in edit mode. You can click any of those. So basically faders versus buttons, and the executor buttons are a single cue typically. You hit that, and then you can go ahead and clear twice. Again, hitting once on clear when you're in double mode deselects, twice clears out the programmer, makes it completely blank. At which point you can play it back and you see exactly what you've recorded. Now, more often than not, the wise thing to do when programming is not to go select lights, you know, find them, and then, you know, move them around and record straight to a queue. Okay, that's generally not your best bet. What you want to do instead is, you know, build your different positions out. So I might go and build this position here on tilt, and then I want to hit the fan key and fan out my pan. Oops, I didn't tilt them enough though to actually see anything. Okay, here we've got some fine piece of art, and now we'll go ahead and record that instead of a cue to a palette first, under position. And so every type of parameter in here, all of the different parameters, you know, intensity, position, beam, advance, gobo, color, all of these have palettes. And those palettes are specific to fixtures. So you'll notice here, I have nothing selected, and if I go through all these palettes, there's nothing there, right? But if I then select a light, I get palettes. There are pre-built palettes that can't be edited, like the color ones often. And then there's palettes you build, like this one that I just built for a position, since those lights right there, that I can edit later. Now the benefit to palettes are, a billionfold, but the most important benefits are two. There's two really important benefits. The first is that palettes allow you to, just quickly grab the lights, put them in a pre-saved place, position, color. If it's a light that has gobos, you're going to see gobos. And it allows you to work really quickly, just tapping stuff on the screen in order to build your cues. The arguably much more important function of palettes is that if I go and the factory made, gobo and color palettes, okay, you can't edit those. But for any palette that I did edit, that I did make myself, like this palette 1 on this position, if I go ahead, let's say I record this to a cue, nothing like a demonstration, okay? So these lights are here in this cue. And I take those lights and then I recall the palette. I always like to do that so they're in the spot. And then I move them. And then I record over that same palette to update it and refire any cue it was in. Those lights in that cue, you'll notice I updated. I didn't record to this cue. I just recorded the position update to that palette. So if you're in a place where you need to touch up positions or you go to a different venue, you set up your rig, you can re-record your position palettes. And then even if you made like 500 cues with positions in them from, say, 10 different palettes, you just update those 10 palettes and every cue made from that palette gets updated as well. So it's really powerful and it's going to save you. And so you should always record to palettes and then to cues as a really good programming habit. And that goes far beyond the LightShark. Other than that, that's like the basics of recording. The one thing we haven't really talked about are effects. So let's stop these playbacks quickly. And this is just a pretty bare bones tutorial to kind of give you like, okay, here's the basics of programming it. We've got other tutorials here inside of Learn Stage Lighting Labs. And if you go to the LightShark TV channel from the LightShark team, they've commissioned us to make lots and lots of videos over the years with every function documented in the console. So there's places. But effects. So say I grab my lights. Let's go with these TX5s. And I now want to go and build effects. Okay, there's two types of effects. There's basic and there's advanced. The basic effects are simple. So say I grab these lights and I create a chase down. Then I have a couple different things going on. So I've got direction, okay? So this is based on either selection order that they were recorded in, which the default groups that are auto-built are just, 1 through 10 or, just numerical order. Or if you go to all here, you're going to notice there's various 2D effects directions. And those 2D ones are used if you have a group that you created. So you select fixtures, you go ahead and just record that to a new group, just like making a palette, just like making a cue. Now I can actually go and edit that and lay this out. So I can lay this out to look like my lighting rig. Say it looks like that. And now this shape, this layout, once I save it, would be respected. We're not running an effect on it now, of course, but it would be respected by the effect, okay? And so when we do these different 2D shapes, that would then be respected by that, and it's really stinking cool. In terms of effects, you get size. That's how much. Whoops. Let's go back. Oh boy. The great thing about the LightShark is being browser based. If you are on a PC and you accidentally just like fat finger clear it, close the window, you can get right back to it. So size, that's the amount that the effect affects the lights. Speed, that's speed. Phase is the offset of the lights, okay? So it starts at 180 by default, which basically means like every other light runs the effect. If you take it to 0 or 360, you'll see that all the lights perform the effect together, but then anywhere in between, and there's a level of offset between them where the lights run the effect at different times, okay? Then we've got width, which is kind of a control as to like where the start and end of that goes. Okay, so like where these things work, where basically start and end in like a gap between where it restarts. The easiest way to kind of understand that is to play around with it. And then effects record to queues just like anything else. So you record, you put it in a queue. If you're moving down the queue list, if you're going to the next queue without clearing, you just hit no effects. And there is also block effects, which is used if you want to have a queue come up to block out effects from all other playbacks. There is also the advanced effects editor. And the cool thing about the advanced effects are that they are palette based. So if I grab these Borealis RC, for example, and I go to advanced and open the editor, I now have the lights that I'm working with here. Okay. And I can create an effect, add a layer, and then what happens is all of these effects, like I'll just do a quick effect here, are based upon the palettes. Okay. And so, of course, I selected a light that is not currently on. So I'll turn that on. And so what you can probably see there, this will tilt it so we can see it better, is we now have an effect on red and amber. So there's a lot in the effects, there's a lot in the advanced effects, if we pop it up, that you can do in terms of adjusting how it runs, how the shape is, etc. Here, I just kind of made a fire effect. And there's a lot you can do in it, specifically because it is based upon those effects. Okay, so we're not going to dive deep into that. There's other videos on that, ones we've done over on the LightShark channel, etc. But the purpose of this video, and what I hope you've gathered from it today, is that the LightShark is a very capable console. But as you see, we got into it, started from scratch, and built out some basic stuff in 15 minutes. 15 minutes, people. And that's what we love about it, that there is a lot under the hood. There's a lot it can do. It's not a full-blown professional console. It can't do everything, but it's very versatile, especially considering how quickly you can get started, how quickly you can get rolling with it. And I hope you see this here. If you have any questions or you need a quote on a LightShark or anything else, hop over to Learn Stage Lighting Gear. We would love to help you. And if you're new to lighting, head over to learnstagelighting.com, grab our free guide, How to Begin with Lighting. It's personalized to the type of lighting you work with so that you can get started quickly. Thank you all so much for watching and have a great day. Bye.